Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this ranking of Doctor Who Season 4. The first thing that I want to tell you is this ranking is entirely my opinion. Our lists probably won't align, and that's totally okay as long as we're having fun. There are going to be some spoilers for Season 4 in this ranking. If you don't want to know anything about it, then do not watch this video. It's not really a comprehensive review of the season. It's just a ranking with some brief thoughts. And with all that established, I see no point in wasting your time any further. Let's get started. The Smugglers comes in last place, and yeah, this one just I find a little bit unengaging. I like the story well enough while I'm listening to it, but it doesn't leave me with any sort of a lasting impression. It's a very unmemorable episode, which for me is a big problem. Like I said, I enjoyed the story. I think William Hartnell's good in it, but as a penultimate story, and even as a Doctor Who story, it's really just not that memorable. The Highlanders comes pretty low, but it's an enjoyable episode. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It definitely felt more like a Hartnell episode than like a Patrick Troughton episode because it is a historical story, but we are introduced to Jamie in this episode, which I did enjoy, and the episode itself is kind of fun. I liked it. It's a decent historical set story that I had a good amount of fun with. It's nothing really to write home about, and it does have the same problem where it's not very memorable, but I think this one's just a little bit more enjoyable for me. The Underwater Menace, I expect to see a little bit lower on some people's lists, but I have more fun with this story than the ones lower down, and this one's really close to the Highlanders, but I honestly just think it's good fun. I kind of like the style of the story. It's a little bit odd, it's a little bit different. It doesn't necessarily feel like every other Doctor Who episode, and I'm fine with that. I enjoyed the kind of stuff that the Doctor got up to. I really enjoyed Patrick Troughton in this story, and I thought that it was just a good amount of fun, and that's what this episode really left me with, was fun. I had a good time, and I remember it much more than the previous entries on this list. The Macra Terror probably a little bit lower than you'll see on most lists, but you know what? I liked it. It was an enjoyable story that I had fun with. I liked some of the stuff with Jamie, and I liked how we're kind of introduced to what's going on. We know that there's some things that aren't quite right, but it's not entirely clear what is wrong. I enjoyed the setup, and the end of the story isn't quite as good as the beginning, but I like what we're given throughout, and I like the Doctor in it, and I like Jamie in it. And Ben and Polly don't do all that much, but they're fine. They don't really detract from the story, and you know what, Ben did do a little bit, even though it wasn't really him doing anything, so that kind of added to not his character, but at least that actor's portrayal of him, and that was something I quite enjoyed. And on the whole, the Crabs worked much better as villains than I expected. It definitely worked better with the animation than just listening to the audio on itself, and it definitely helped this episode to boost a little bit higher in my ranking, being able to actually see the story. The Evil of the Daleks. This is an episode that I did legitimately really enjoy, even if I didn't enjoy it as much as maybe some people did. And you know what? This is a good story. I liked it. There's some stuff with the Daleks that doesn't really work for me in terms of them trying to use aspects of humanity to sort of further their agenda. That stuff doesn't really make sense for me, but the episode itself is paced well and is engaging, and obviously I love Patrick Troughton in this, and Jamie is good. We are introduced to Victoria, even though she doesn't do much within this story. And while I don't really like a lot of the stuff this episode does with the Daleks, I'm able to get past that and enjoy the rest of the story for what it is, which is ultimately a solid episode. And for all of this episode's faults, it's much more engaging than the more run-of-the-mill stories like the Highlanders that, while being fun, don't do anything particularly special. This episode definitely tries to do something, even if it doesn't totally land what it's going for, and as said, it's a solid story that I liked with some noteworthy problems. The Faceless Ones, this is the point in the ranking where it is smooth sailing ahead because this is a solid story. I had a lot of fun with this one. I haven't had a chance to see the animation yet, but I really enjoyed the two surviving episodes and the audio. I was really engaged by the story. I thought Captain Blade was good in the supporting cast. I like this sort of creepy, odd villain that we had in these creatures. I can't recall the name of them. They're just kind of this mutated, grotesque-looking figures, and I thought that was pretty cool. And overall, this is just a really engaging story, and it says a lot when you can go 6 parts into a story and still be just as engaged as you are at the beginning. The Moonbase. This was the return of the Cybermen after their excellent introduction, and my goodness, is this a fantastic story. I just thoroughly enjoy this one. It's got such a creepy, engaging atmosphere to it. The setting of this Moonbase, it's very much a base under siege story, and I love just this atmospheric noise that there is throughout the story. It really helps to build the tension and just sell the style that this story absolutely needed to sell to make the Cybermen really compelling villains. I thought they did an excellent job at that. Obviously, everybody's great in this story except for Ben and Polly, and it's just really an excellent reintroduction to the Cybermen that I think does a better job as a Cyberman story than The 10th Planet, which is an excellent story, and I do prefer to the Moonbase because of Hartnell's regeneration. I like the stuff with the Cybermen. I think it's good for the most part, even though it doesn't handle it quite as well as the Moonbase. It handles it really well. It's a great introduction to them, and it is a great way to close out Hartnell's era as the Doctor. They gave him a rock-solid send-off that I thoroughly enjoyed, and as a regeneration story, this is the first one I thought they did an excellent job. It was really interesting to watch it and just kind of view it as what it is, which is a piece of television that helped to propel this series into what it is today, which I think is incredible. And also just viewing it as a piece of television, it's really interesting to watch the way that it goes about doing something that this show has never done before. So I was thoroughly engaged by that, and it's a great Cyberman story to boot. The power of the Daleks. It had to be this one. This is such a great post-regeneration story. It basically does everything that it needs to completely sell you on a new Doctor, which is so essential after regeneration. I think Patrick Troughton just absolutely lands on his feet and just hits the ground running and doesn't stop. He is excellent in the story, and he's excellent throughout the rest of the season. I really enjoyed him, and the Daleks make a really interesting foe in this one. I like what is done with them. It's different than what we've really seen done with the Daleks, and I think it's better than what is done at the end of the season. I really enjoyed this whole story, and I think the best aspect to it is how it is a post-regeneration story. Looking at it through that lens and experiencing it through that way enables the story to just be something that other stories aren't. It's an introduction to this new Doctor, the way that it plays with that with the current companions, Ben and Polly, and it just makes this story unique and different, and it's something that the show hadn't done up to this point, and they absolutely nailed it on their first attempt, and I think this is a great start to a new era of Doctor Who, and just a great introduction to Patrick Troughton's Doctor. And that's it. That's my ranking of the season. I suppose it's not much of a surprise if you did see my review of Season 4. So yeah, feel free to rank Season 4 down below. I'll be interested to see other people's lists for this season because I am expecting a little bit of variance in terms of, which stories people really latch onto. People might really like The Evil of the Daleks and not be so keen on the Moonbase. I don't really know what you think about this, so feel free to let me know. I'd just be happy to see some rankings down below. And with all that said, I will be back very soon with a review of the Tomb of the Cybermen. We are kicking off Season 5, which I am super excited about. Yeah, nothing more to say here. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you around soon, but if not, that's totally cool. Just know that I appreciate your time here today. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. Take care and have a lovely week.